They talk when all are silent, expose when the powers that be want everything to remain in the dark. They mobilize, defend and stand up to the regal powers of impunity, corruption and social evil. This is the story of one of the most decorated architects of the human rights movement in Kenya. He is the epitome of human rights in Kenya, the human of human rights. But who is Maina Kiai?
I would say, without any fear of contradiction, that he's one of the outstanding Kenyans that we have.
A champion and a veteran within the field of human rights.
Is a courageous human rights and justice defender who speaks truth to power, not only locally, but also globally.
Basically, for the longest, I've known him as a tireless human rights defender, uncompromising human rights defender.
You know, Maina is a strong defender for human rights. I've known Maina Kiai since 1985 when we were together in the University of Nairobi. I was in second year when he came to our class to campaign for the position of vice chair. And what was impressive about him is that he was daring. He was a first year and he was already campaigning for a position that normally would be taken up by third years or second years.
Well, Maina's name preceded him, so before I met him, I knew of him. I think around the clamor for human rights and constitutional reform, and that the second revolution or the second move towards independence.
Born in Nyeri District, Central Kenya, the Harvard University law graduate is currently the special rapporteur to the United Nations.
Whatever he gets into, he pushes the boundaries. So he's very innovative and he's very creative. And he's the sort of person that once he actually takes on a role, he always pushes it one step further.
In 1992, Kiai co-founded Kenya's Human Rights Commission together with fellow human rights activists Professor Makau Mutua, Dr. Willy Mutunga, Honorable Kraitu Murungi and Professor Peter Kareithi.
It was actually a very exciting time during the 90s in Kenya because civil society was really opening up. It was a time of opening up, and Maina and Willy had established the Kenya Human Rights Commission because they wanted to shift the whole model or the whole paradigm of human rights work and establish local offices, national offices, rather than the dominant international human rights type of model.
Ever since, Mr. Kiai has remained a key figure on monitoring, documenting and publicizing human rights violations. Today, the words human rights and Maina Kiai are synonymous.
Human rights defenders, and his track record is clear, including what he has been doing over the last few years regarding resettling of the IDPs and advocating for their rights. I think if we had another 100 Maina Kiais in Kenya, the human rights movement would be equally stronger.
If we have many people like Maina Kiai, his way of thinking, his way of doing things, his love with the people of Kenya, and his patriotism, then we would go miles and miles in development of the human race.
His work is motivational and inspiring.
And we watch, we keenly watch everything that he says and he does. Like, for example, for me, I know every Saturday I look forward to reading his column in the Saturday Nation.
His voice, a power that others have chosen to amplify by choosing to activism as a way of life.
Without him, I would never have known about protests, campaigns, and movement building for human rights. The second thing that I remember Maina since I knew him in 1996 up to this time is that you have to be ready to work in all the three spaces of human rights work. The closed spaces, the invited spaces, and the invented spaces. And it is in the invented spaces where I met Maina at the National Convention Assembly, without inventing the National Convention Assembly, the 4Cs, and other spaces that Maina at KNCHR helped us to invent when I was a student leader, today we will not be talking about the delivery of a new constitution for Kenya.
I remember very well when we were arrested in the year 2000 for doing progressive theatre for social transformation. Maina Kiai is the only executive director who came to the prison to see these young people who are wearing these white dresses for prison.
Standing up to dictatorial government regimes, uncompromising, tireless and transformational. That has been Mr. Kiai's mantra since the initialization of his career.
He has contributed greatly to democratization in Kenya, but also in giving a voice to many people who never had a voice, using his place at Kenya Human Rights Commission, at the National Commission on Human Rights. He gave it the identity. He gave the commission an identity.
It's not as an individual alone, but he has passed on this spirit of caring and support to his organization, Inform Action.
Excellent legal mind. And then he's got the talent of writing very well, communicating very well, even on constitutional issues in simple language that can get across. So these are the people, in my view, that we should be seeking out as a nation if we wanted to transform the country and giving key positions. For example, if you were to give the job of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to a person like Maina Kiai, you will see corruption coming to an end. He will bring it to an end.
Is a leading light of the community of civil society agents of change, advancing human dignity and human rights, constitutional reforms and social justice, gender equality and minority rights, and combating official corruption, political impunity, and public land grabbing. Maina Kiai is a courageous human rights defender. He is a courageous justice defender. He speaks truth to power, not only locally, but also globally.
One would even argue that it's enshrined in his psychic. Standing up to human rights oppressors, it is his way of life.
So Inform Action is an organization founded by him with their co-director, a lady, and they're doing quite well in terms of reaching out to, the basic, the grassroots level.
Maina Kiai was a great leader, and I have no fear of judging his tenure as one of the best of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. And I would want to say that any institution's performance depends on the leader of that institution. And Maina Kiai, as chairman of the first Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, actually did his job extremely well.
Maina, you are among the very few who are very consistent in what you are doing. You are not swayed by tribes. I remember many people who were activists in the 90s and then joined the government and forgot about human rights. You are very consistent during the Kibaki regime. You are still consistent with the Uhuru.
Since he deputed into activism, Maina leads with a light and rare attitude. This has earned him both enemies and friends. In the words of Lesi Hannan, Maina's co-director the Inform Action, Maina is the right energy in any situation of advocacy, as witnessed in the making of the new constitution.
We started a whole new sort of way of doing human rights films, and he was very comfortable doing that. He's a performer. He's very good on camera. He's very willing to go out into the field. You can ask him. He's game to do anything. You know, so the sort of things that we've done together for the films, for example, we invaded the Eldoret police station. I put him in a hot air balloon. I once put him in a hot air balloon to explain the new constitution. Now, only Maina Kiai can get in a hot air balloon and use it in an inspirational way to explain to Kenyans the importance of the new constitution.
Decorated in both humanity and natural gestures, his sense of humor brings levity and makes the rather gruesome and often cumbersome career exciting.
He takes any opportunity, if he can, to sing or dance or socialize, and you know, that side of him, I would say that really, if he had the choice between hanging out with Giuliani or hanging out with the UN Sec Gen, I think he would choose Giuliani.
David Malombe, the Deputy Executive Director of the Human Rights Commission, sees a relentless African champion in Maina, just like many others who have interacted with him in his social activism career.
And I will always remember him and also appreciate him for having been part of the 5 directors who established the Kenya Human Rights Commission in the US in 1992. And from there he became the founding executive director, which then has led to the formation and the existence of one of the most progressive and progressive human rights organization in Kenya and in Africa.
He even employed people like ourselves, Buke, Johana Mutahi, Rumuba, Odeda, when it was impossible for us to get employment in any other place because we are former political prisoners. And in addition to that, Maina used to bail us when we got arrested.
So when the history of Kenya will be written, I'm sure the likes of Maina Kiai will have a footnote in history about introducing human rights movement in Kenya.
I am personally, and I think many other people are also satisfied with what Maina Kiai has been doing for the people of Kenya.
Chief, as we call you, you've done so much. You've continued doing so many good things for this country. Don't change. Just be that man. We know you have a high stake up there, but we really like that you still look down on us and support those who are down here. So big up to you, and thank you very much for all the support. Kenya loves you.
We need Maina here back home to be with us, to struggle with us, and to continue to inspire us and encourage us. So Maina, time to come back home.
We celebrate the son of our great nation, Kenya. We celebrate the epitome of human rights, the human of human rights. And the message is, keep doing it. Congratulations, Maina Kiai.